Alright, now we're going to install servos, and if you notice they haven't glued down this flap, and if you see our lead is on this side for the speed control. So we're going to want to place these in so our lead is coming out on the other side. Now you can orient your servos facing the front, you know, with the shaft toward the front or the back. Well, since they make these kind of tight in here, I like to face them away from the tail a little bit. That gives me a little more room for the leads. And I'll do this one the same way. And I'll fold the wire underneath so that we're sitting correctly in there. Okay, now to glue these in, all I do is push them out a little bit, and I shoot a little bit of hot glue underneath them on both sides, like so. Alright, when you push these back in, you'll see you ooze a little bit of hot glue out the hole. Alright, and you know that it's going to have to rip all that hot glue out to come loose. I'll do the same thing on this side. Place a little bit of hot glue on both sides under the hole, and then push it in. Make sure it's down all the way, and then you can actually push the flap down. There'll be enough hot glue left. If not, put a little bit more hot glue on there. I'll take all this little fuzzy stuff out of there for now. Okay, so we've got both the servos mounted on both sides. Okay, we want to make sure our elevator's in neutral, and then I put the arm on so it is sticking straight down 90 degrees. I'm gonna grab right over where the hole is, and what I want to do is bend this wire out. Okay.
How many degrees?
90 degrees. We're gonna bend it out. All right. Then I'll take the arm off since I haven't put it on there, and then I'll check it and make sure that that's at 90 and that's neutral. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to bend that over. Okay, so I bent this at 90 degrees. And just pull your arm off and place it through there and make sure everything lines up. This should be at 90 degrees to the fuselage. Everything should look good. Okay, once all that's done, just take your wire and bend it over so you turn it into a Z bend. Alright, so let's give it a little bend there, and you might have to tweak it back just a little bit, and then we've got a nice Z bend there. Once you have the Z bend, go back through this hole and place it back on there. Alright, and do the same thing to the other side. And then once you get that done, what you want to do is pull this back off, and I'm going to use a servo tester and plug these in. Alright, and then power it with my BEC. Now you can also use a receiver. You don't need to use a servo tester. Just make sure everything's centered on your controls, on your transmitter. Okay, so this thing's lighting up. I'm going to go to neutral so I know that this is centered, and then what I can do is turn this back around, put it on there as close to center as I can get it, and as you can see, we're looking pretty good there. I'm going to put the battery in, and if you notice, it's a little too big for this compartment, and it won't hurt to have a little extra nose weight on this thing. So what we're going to do, we're going to cut this out just a little bit. And see, we only need about 1/4 inch more. So I want to cut down the side here a little bit on both sides, and kind of go 1/4 inch deep. And then same thing with here, but go your full length of your blade. And you don't need to overcut it, just cut it out. I'll take a little piece out about like that. That should be fine. Okay, if you notice now, the battery will fit really nice, and it's pretty snug in there. Okay, that'll be pretty good. You can kind of tweak it a little bit and you can get it in there nicely. Also on the top of the battery, help hold it in. You want to put a little piece of Velcro on this side, and the way to place the other piece in, and we've already cut these, just take the backing off of it, place it on there, and I put just a little bit of hot glue on the back. That way I know it stays in here. And I'm going to dig just a little bit more here. A little bit. I want it to go down all the way. And dump all that stuff out of there. I've got my hot glue on there. And what we're going to do is slide it in there all the way down and kind of hold it. That way that hot glue spreads in. And then when that dries, you'll be able to pull your battery out and it'll have a little bit of adhesion. And that's basically it. Alright, now we've got the wheels on. Just stuck those on, tighten up the set screws. I put a little bit of hot glue on the end so you don't puncture your fingers. Now we're going to put the wing on. The wing is the big piece that's included with the fuselage. And we've already glued the carbon fiber in there. We're going to place this on the top, kind of eyeball it in the center, flip it over. Again, use your square. And you want to center the wing. Now I know this is about 8 3/4 on either side, and so I want to double check that, make sure, and you want to find a nice spot where you can measure it, and it's even on both sides, so we're good there. Now we want to get our angle correct, so you have to find a good spot on the fuselage here where you can get the wing to angle correctly. Alright, now don't forget we've still got a little bit of taper in the fuselage, and if I'm not mistaken, I think I've pretty much got my angle set. So on this side you can see it moves up about 1/4 of an inch on the very tip, and the same thing over here. Make sure those wires aren't underneath there, and it angles up about 1/4 inch, exactly the same. So we know that wing is centered, and again, we want to take and we want to mark it with the marker, both sides, and that way, all we have to do is put a little bit of glue on here in between the two marks, and probably a lot of glue in between the two marks. Make sure you roll around and get a little bit on the top too, because you get a flap that goes over. Okay, and again we're gonna put this on here. Move all your wires out of the way. Also make note of where your receiver can go with this hollowed part. Notice you can put the receiver in there, and you can cut that from the side. Anyway, we're going in here with the wing, and again, we want to double check everything. So use your square, make sure that we're sitting in the right spot here, and the angle is correct on both sides. Last thing we need to do is put a skid in here. All you want to do is angle your knife, make a little slot in there, shoot yourself a little bit of glue in there. Okay. Glue also acts like a lubricant, so you can stick this in there a little ways, crunch it in just a tad, add a little more glue around it. Okay. Alright.